Oh, really? Just because you're living in Europe now, you think you're better than us? You've become so proud. You've forgotten where you came from.
I don't have any money right now, Mom. I'll send it as soon as I can.
I've been asking you for it for a while now, but I still haven't received anything. I'm telling you, this girl has become a burden. She came back empty-handed to ruin everything built.
As far as I'm concerned, she can go back to the village.
If by the end of the week she hasn't found a spot at the market to braid hair and pay for her own food,
I'll throw her suitcase out the gate.
Why does my family love money more than they love me?
Please like this video and subscribe to support our work. Thank you so much for your support, and thanks for everything.
Listen carefully. Sora's story proves that God can set a table for you in front of your enemies, but your own family will sit down at it and eat everything without even leaving you the dishwater. At 23, Sora ran her little salon in the neighborhood. Her space was no bigger than a call box, with a cracked mirror and an old chair that creaked. But that girl had fire in her fingers. She didn't just braid hair. She performed cosmetic surgery without a scalpel on people's heads. When you left her place, even your own husband wouldn't recognize you. He'd think he'd married Miss World by mistake. But in the neighborhood, when you have golden hands, your family grows wolf's teeth. Her mother was customs control in person. She didn't say hello. She said, "Transfer." Every evening she was there to collect her tax. "Sora, your sister wants to start her hair extension business now. You're the only one who can pay." "Sora, your brother has to register for the exam. Do you want him to ruin his life?" Sora worked so hard her own fingerprints started to fade, making do with a 100-franc bag of boiled beignets, while her family was already drawing up a spending list for money she hadn't even earned yet. In the evening, once the salon finally emptied out, she'd sit alone in front of her worn mirror. She'd look at her fingers, damaged by braids and products, and let out a long sigh. Sometimes Sora wondered if her whole life would amount to working herself to exhaustion, while everyone around her simply held out their hand. But what her own family was about to do, no one could have predicted. Her talent eventually forced doors open. An influential man, struck by what she'd done with his daughter's hair, opened the doors of Europe to her. "A talent like yours shouldn't die in this neighborhood. If you're serious, I can send you to work in Europe." "Me? In Europe?" "Yes. Work hard and change your life." "Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you." The night before she left, Sora barely slept. She stared at the ceiling, wondering if her life was finally about to change. A few days later, Sora left with a single suitcase held shut by the grace of the Holy Spirit, and a pair of shoes that begged forgiveness with every step. But Europe wasn't the paradise of Instagram photos. At first, Sora endured brutal cold, freezing waters, and the contempt of people who saw her as just another immigrant. There, nobody knew her name. Nobody was waiting for her. She worked in underground salons until 2 a.m., fingers numb with cold, braiding non-stop so as not to lose her spot. While her family slept in comfort back home, she lived in a tiny room, sometimes eating only once a day, surviving on dry bread so she could send that first transfer. Many times she cried alone in the silence of her room, but every time she looked at photos of her family, she picked herself back up to keep going. Years later, the little braider from the Callbox salon had become an icon. On Facebook, her photos shone like never before, wearing clothes whose names you could barely pronounce without twisting your tongue. The biggest stars now lined up to pass through her golden hands, whatever the price. But back home, the vampires had simply sharpened their teeth. Life had taken flight. Mama Sally no longer walked. She floated in luxury wrappers. "My daughter has made it, my sisters," she'd shout at the market. She ran Europe like her own salon. Sora, with a heart as pure as milk, sent money as if she were printing bills under her bed. She built the villa, paid for her siblings' schooling, even financed the wedding of a cousin who never even greeted her back when she walked around barefoot. Except the money had turned her family into a professional extortion syndicate. They no longer saw Sora. They saw an ATM with no PIN required. Her phone buzzed more than a worn-out generator. "Sora, your sister has a headache. We need 500 euros. "Sora, your uncle dreamed the roof was going to collapse. Send 1,000,000. The requests became so absurd that Sora wondered if her parents were using her bills to light the cooking fire. But the worst part was the tone. If the transfer was 2 minutes late, the phone would spit venom. "Ah, has success already made you proud? You forget it was us who prayed for your visa. If the money doesn't come in by noon, we withdraw our blessings."
Worn down by this high-speed emotional blackmail, Sora decided to run a test, one nobody would ever forget. Without a word, she bought a ticket and landed at the airport with a single small suitcase, the same one she'd left with 5 years earlier. The lioness had returned to the jungle, but she hid her claws to see who would truly welcome her when she had nothing left to offer. And that, my friends, is where the real film begins. When Sora's taxi pulled up in front of the villa she herself had paid for, she stepped out, small suitcase in hand. The gate flew open. Mama Sally came running out, eyes already wide, expecting to see boxes of fabric, luxury perfumes, and stacks of bills. But when her gaze landed on Sora's tired face and her one shabby bag, that broad smile evaporated faster than a drop of water on a hot iron. "Oh, my daughter, I missed you." That first line was a dagger. But Mama Sally had no idea Sora was setting the greatest trap of her life. "Sora, where are your bags? Did you send the rest by container?" Sora lowered her head, feigning distress, tears in her eyes. "Mama, it's all over. Someone reported me over my papers. They seized everything, the money, the cars. I came back with the only thing they couldn't take, my life." For the first week, they kept up appearances. They set her up in her room, but the mood was heavy. At the table, they asked roundabout questions, hoping she was hiding a secret account or jewelry at the bottom of her suitcase. Mama Sally still served her rice, but her eyes searched her daughter's expressions, hunting for the lie. They were waiting for the miracle, the moment she'd say, "It was all a joke, here are your gifts." But the hypocrisy had its limits, and on the 8th day, everything changed. Sora decided to land the final blow of her test. She gathered the family in the living room to ask a favor. "Mama, I have an idea to get us back on our feet," she said humbly. "If you could just lend me 200,000 francs, I could buy equipment and open a small salon here in the neighborhood. With my talent, in 2 months I'll pay you back and we can start over." The silence that followed was colder than ice. Her sister burst into a mocking laugh. Her brother pretended not to hear, too busy scrolling on the luxury phone Sora had given him the year before. Mama Sally cut things short with false sweetness. "Ah, Sora, my daughter, things are complicated right now. The savings groups have us squeezed, and your brother has his own expenses. Anyway, we'll see about it later." Empty promises, so as not to hand over a single franc. The moment they realized she was asking for money instead of giving it, Sora became a burden. They started locking the kitchen cupboards and tidying things away whenever she walked into a room. Conversations would stop dead when she came near. They stopped really calling her to sit with everyone in the living room. they left her in her corner. Her own sister, who still wore Sora's old gifts, started locking her wardrobe and moving her things so Sora couldn't touch them, claiming she needed to tidy her room. That evening, Sora made do with a bowl of plain gadi, eaten in the dark of her room because electricity is expensive for those who bring nothing home. Sora lay on the bed, eyes fixed on the black ceiling. This was no longer a game, no longer a simple test. Reality was crushing her from the inside. That's when voices came through the thin wall of the house. In the kitchen, the extortion syndicate was holding its nightly council. Sora, hand trembling, pulled her phone out from under her pillow and hit record. Her mother's voice rang out, stripped of all humanity. I'm telling you, this girl has become a burden. She came back here empty-handed to ruin everything we've built. If by the end of the week she hasn't found a spot at the market to braid hair and pay for her own food, I'll throw her suitcase out the gate. Her sister chimed in, mocking and contemptuous. As far as I'm concerned, she's not asking me for another franc. Let her stay in her corner. She can go back to the village. And her mother concluded with a coldness that shattered Sora. To me, she's not my daughter anymore. She's just a stranger who failed. We're not emptying our rice reserves for a failure. In the dark, Sora absorbed every word in silence. Tears fell, but the truth was clear. For 5 years, they hadn't loved the child. They had only loved the bank transfers. She wiped her tears with a sharp gesture. The test was over.
The next morning, the family gathered around the table in the living room. Sora came down, dressed simply, suitcase in hand. She walked over, set her phone in the middle of the plates, and hit play. Her mother's voice rang out in the room. If she has no more money, she's not my daughter. She's just a stranger who failed. Silence fell instantly. Her brother lowered his head, her sister dropped her fork, and Mama Sally felt her throat tighten. The trap had just closed. Her brother tried to save himself, lips trembling. Big sister, it's a fake. AI has ruined everything these days. That's not Mama's voice. Mama Sally threw herself to her knees. Sora, my darling daughter, that was the devil. The devil came into our kitchen last night to divide us. You know my heart. I love you more than money. Sora picked up her phone, slipped it into her pocket, and looked down at them with total contempt. The devil doesn't need to come into this house, Mother. You're already doing his job full-time. Her mother kept crying on her knees. Oh, Sora, my darling, forgive me. I'm so sorry. I beg you, don't leave me. I love you so much, my daughter. Her brother avoided her gaze. Even her sister kept her eyes down, unable to speak. You thought I came back because I'd lost everything? No. I only wanted to see if you could still love me when I had nothing left to give you. Her throat tightened for a moment, but she went on. I spent 5 years suffering in Europe to build this life for you. You made it clear that in this house, my worth was only ever about my money. Mama Sally tried to grab her arm, tears in her eyes. Sora, please, this is your family. Sora gently pulled her arm away. A family doesn't treat its own like a bank account. She looked once more around the living room, the villa, the furniture she'd paid for with her own sacrifices. Keep this villa, but without my monthly transfer, you'll soon find out that walls aren't edible. The bills arrive tomorrow. Good luck paying them. Sora turned and walked out, crossed the courtyard, and passed through the gate without a single cry. She got into the taxi waiting to take her to the airport. On the plane, Sora looked out at the sky through the window. Her heart was heavy, but her spirit was finally free. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she could breathe. The moral of this story is simple. Don't empty yourself out to fill people who only love you when your hands are full. Learn to recognize those who love you sincerely and those who only love what you can give them. And tell me honestly, have you ever experienced a situation where the people you loved seemed to mainly love what you could give them? Share your story in the comments. I'll read it with care. And if this story touched you, leave a heart to support the channel.